The Europa League has reached the midway point in the inaugural league phase, and it's been a wild ride to start the season. Certain teams have been putting up some incredible performances, while other sides have been performing well below their expected standards. The league table still has plenty of time to change, but after 4 matches, we're starting to get a sense of who has what it takes to go all the way and which teams will need a miracle to make it to the knockout rounds. Today, we're ranking all 36 teams in this season's Europa League to see who's gone off to a great start and who needs to pick up the pace before the end of the first round. The Europa League is starting to get interesting, so let's start ranking it. Starting in the F tier, we have Union Saint-Gilloise, PAOK, Ludogorets Razgrad, and Maccabi Tel Aviv. The Belgian side have returned for another Europa League season, and it's gone off to a very poor start. They are yet to win a match with 2 draws and 2 losses, and have only managed to score 2 goals while conceding 4. Admittedly, they've played against some pretty solid opposition, but they've looked unimpressive to start their campaign. For Greek side PAOK, they put up some respectable performances in their losses to Galatasaray and Manchester United. However, they failed to convert a plethora of chances against FCSB and Victoria Plzeň, which has left them with just 1 point from 4 games, and now they have a massive task ahead of them. For Bulgarian side Ludogorets Razgrad, they've been very lackluster to start their campaign. A 0-0 draw with Victoria Plzeň gave them their only point so far, and with just 1 goal scored and 6 conceded, they look down and out with very little chance of progressing. And for Maccabi Tel Aviv, their historic collapse against Braga on matchday 1 has set the tone for the rest of the campaign. 4 straight losses as well as a 5-0 thrashing away to Ajax has left the side scrambling to recover, but it may be too late. The last team to find themselves in the F tier are Dynamo Kiev. The Ukrainian side have faced some solid opposition in Lazio and Roma, but no matter how you put it, they are the only side yet to score a goal in the campaign. With their 4-0 loss to Ferencváros on matchday 4, things are looking incredibly bleak for this side as they sit at the very bottom of the league table. These 5 sides have cemented their spots near the bottom of the table, and it'll take a miracle and then some to advance in this tournament, so they go in the F tier today. Next up in the D tier, we have Manchester United, Roma, Real Sociedad, and Braga. Manchester United continue to disappoint us all with 3 draws and 1 win from their first 4 games, which isn't good enough for their standards. They've arguably been the dominant side in all 4 matches, but they've only managed to hit the target on 22 of 76 shots, which translates to a horrendous 29% conversion rate. United have some hope for the last 4 games with a new manager coming in, but these first 4 games have been rough to say the least. In terms of Roma's performances so far, the less said about them, the better. With just 1 win from their first 4 games coming against Dynamo Kiev, they've looked incredibly poor in their other matches. Their 1-0 loss to Elfsborg on matchday 2 was a huge slap in the face, and with just 3 goals scored so far, it's incredibly tough to predict where this team will end up. The same can be said for Real Sociedad, who currently sit in 25th place with just 4 points from 4 games. They've been the better side in all their matches apart from their first game against Nice, but something just isn't clicking for the Spanish side. They'll need some kind of rejuvenation to bounce back from their 2-1 loss to Victoria Plzeň, or they could genuinely miss out on the playoff rounds. And for Braga, their heroic comeback against Maccabi Tel Aviv on matchday 1 hasn't ignited a spark in them like they thought it would. An embarrassing 3-0 loss to Olympiacos, followed by a 2-1 loss to Bodo Glimt, and a painful 1-1 draw with Elfsborg have left them in 26th place after 4 games. The Portuguese side have conceded in all of their matches so far, and some sort of defensive shakeup is necessary to give them a chance at advancing in this tournament. The next 4 teams in the D tier are Malmo, Qarabag, Nice, and RFS. Malmo's 2-1 win over Qarabag on matchday 2 does not redeem their play in their other 3 matches. They've generated 4.98 XG to start their season, which isn't awful, but considering they only have 3 goals to show for it, it's not doing them any favors. They need to be more clinical in the final third if they want to move within the playoff spots, or else it'll be an early exit for the Swedish side. When it comes to Qarabag, their 2-1 win over Bodo Glimt on matchday 4 is the only redeeming factor for the side so far. They've been on the wrong side of a 3-0 loss twice so far this season, and with a -6 goal differential from 4 games, it doesn't look like they're ready to make a push anytime soon. For French side Nice, they continue to search for their first win, but they haven't been playing as bad as their record makes it out to be. They've controlled possession and put up at least 10 shots in all 4 matches, but it's the 8 goals they've conceded that has hindered their progress so far. If they can figure out their defensive struggles, they could have a chance at winning some games and getting some extremely valuable points. And for Latvian side RFS, their matchday 4 draw with Anderlecht has been their highlight of the campaign so far. Even though they got a draw against Galatasaray, they got outplayed in every major statistic, which is also what happened against FCSB and Eintracht Frankfurt. Unless beginner's luck strikes this side sometime soon, it'll be a disappointing inaugural campaign for RFS in the Europa League. These 8 sides have been unimpressive to start their campaigns, and they find themselves in the D tier today. The first 4 teams in the C tier are FC Midtjylland, Besiktas, Hoffenheim, and Fenerbahce. The Danish Giants currently sit in 13th place in the league table with 7 points from 4 matches, but they haven't been the most convincing side to start their campaign. Their 2 wins came over Maccabi Tel Aviv and Union Saint-Gilloise, has two bottom feeder teams, but not in a dominant fashion. With an embarrassing 2-0 loss to FCSB on matchday 4, the side needs to be more clinical on attack in order to really secure their spot in the playoff round. When it comes to Besiktas, their wins over Lyon and Malmo slightly make up for how bad they looked against Ajax and Eintracht Frankfurt. However, with just 4 goals scored and 8 goals conceded, the Turkish Giants need to be better on both ends of the pitch to avoid falling out of a playoff spot. In terms of Hoffenheim's performances, they've been incredibly average to start their season. 5 goals scored, 5 goals conceded, and 5 points acquired really shows that this team likes the number 5. But in terms of on-pitch performance, they've only converted 33% of their shots into shots on target, which explains the relative lack of scoring. They need to start winning some games in convincing fashion, or else they'll be set up for a tough task in the playoff rounds. And for Jose Mourinho's Fenerbahce side, they currently sit in 21st place with 5 points, which is far from the standard he would have set for the club. They played well against Union Saint-Gilloise and Manchester United, but their matchday 4 loss to AZ Alkmaar really exposed the flaws in the side's backline. They've conceded in all 4 matches so far, and if they don't correct their defensive mistakes soon, it could cost them a playoff spot as well. The next 4 teams in the C tier are FC Porto, Slavia Prague, Elfsborg, and FC Twente. Porto currently find themselves in 22nd place with just 4 points from 4 games, and their only redeeming factor is that they've put up 8 goals so far. Their 3-3 draw with Manchester United on matchday 2 was truly electric, but their 2-1 loss to Lazio on matchday 4 put a halt to any momentum they might have had. Porto's hopes of making the top 8 are now a dream, but if they string some wins together, they could easily secure a playoff spot. For Slavia Prague, a spot in the playoff rounds after 4 games is more than enough for their standards. The Czech side put up a valiant effort in their 1-1 draw with Ajax on matchday 2, but back-to-back losses to Athletic Club and Eintracht Frankfurt have brought them back down to earth. 3 goals scored and 3 goals conceded is good enough for now, but they need to score more if they want to continue their early momentum in this campaign. When it comes to Swedish side Elfsborg, they've been incredibly fun to watch as a neutral fan, but they need to find some consistency if they want to stay in a playoff spot. They'll need to use their 1-0 win over Roma on matchday 2 as motivation to keep fighting to stay in this tournament, while some changes in defense should allow them to stop conceding so many goals. And for Dutch side FC Twente, they are yet to win a game this season, but they've held their ground against some much better opposition so far. Their back-to-back 1-1 draws against Manchester United and Fenerbahce were some solid showings to start their season, and their most recent 2-2 draw against Nice on matchday 4 was yet another impressive outing. If they can manage to get a win or 2 in their last 4 matches, they could easily sneak into a playoff spot. These 8 sides haven't gone off to the worst of starts, and all they need is some momentum for them to continue in this tournament as they find themselves in the C tier today. Next up in the B tier, we have Tottenham, Lyon, Rangers, and Olympiacos. Tottenham have gone off to a solid start to their season, but their latest 3-2 loss to Galatasaray on matchday 4 was far from their best outing. Either way, they've gotten 9 points from 4 matches and scored 8 goals while conceding just 4, so they're definitely on the right path. If they can continue their momentum from matchday 1 through 3, they should have no problems finishing in the top 8. For French side Lyon, their first 2 matches came as wins over Olympiacos and Rangers, but their 1-0 loss to Besiktas and 2-2 draw to Hoffenheim have landed them just outside the top 8. They've put up 8 goals while conceding just 4, so there isn't much worry on either the offensive side or defensive side for this team. With some consistency and solid results in their next 4 matches, they could sneak their way into the top 8 with ease. When it comes to Rangers, the Scottish Giants have gone under the radar to start their campaign and find themselves in 10th place after 4 matches. They bounced back from their matchday 2 loss to Lyon with a convincing 4-0 win over FCSB on matchday 3 and are coming off the back of a 1-1 draw with Olympiacos. If they can keep adding on to the 8 goals they've scored so far, they should be able to secure a playoff spot with some games in hand. And for Greek side Olympiacos, their 3-0 win over Braga on matchday 2 has been their biggest highlight when looking at how average their other 3 matches were. Their 5 goals scored and 3 conceded is a solid record for their first 4 matches, but it may not be enough to get them into the top 8 at this pace. Ayoub El Kabi leads the league with 4 goals scored so far, so the team will need to generate some offense elsewhere if they want to continue winning games. The next 4 teams in the B tier are Bodo Glimt, Ferencváros, Viktoria Plzeň, and AZ Alkmaar. Norwegian side Bodo Glimt came away with an impressive 3-2 win over Porto on matchday 1, but their most recent loss to Karabag on matchday 4 will put a dent in the progress they've made so far. With 5 different goal scorers putting up 6 goals so far, they've been sharing the offensive load amongst themselves, which is exactly what they'll like to see. They're doing a solid job so far, so if they just stick to their game plan, a playoff spot is definitely a possibility. For Hungarian side Ferencváros, they've made up for their first 2 losses of the season with back-to-back wins on matchdays 3 and 4. Their 4-0 win over Dynamo Kiev was a statement win for this side, and it will surely be used as a boost of confidence for them moving forward. With 7 goals scored and just 4 conceded, the Hungarian side are looking comfortable for now in 14th place. When it comes to Viktoria Plzeň, 3 draws and 1 win from 4 games is more than enough for what the squad is expected to achieve. Their 3-3 draw against Eintracht Frankfurt on matchday 1 was a great game to watch, which was topped by their 2-1 win over Real Sociedad on matchday 4. Their biggest area of concern will be possession, as they're averaging just 34% to start the season, but they're making the most of their few chances, and that's good enough for them. And for Dutch side AZ Alkmaar, 2 wins and 2 losses from 4 games is not bad at all for them. A thrilling 3-2 win over Elfsborg on matchday 1 and an entertaining 3-1 win over Fenerbahce on matchday 4 has proven to the rest of the league that this side could be a problem moving forward. Holding Tottenham to just a 1-0 loss on matchday 3 will be a win for them, and with 6 goals scored and 6 conceded, they should be able to float around the middle of the table for the next 4 games. These These 8 teams have started off strong after 4 matches and they go into the B tier today. To start off the A tier, we have Galatasaray, Eintracht Frankfurt, Anderlecht, and Athletic Club. The Turkish giants currently sit 3rd in the league and are very close to making the S tier, but considering that they've conceded in all 4 games and have given up 8 total goals hinders them enough to make them land in the A tier today. They have been incredibly fun to watch so far, with their wins over Elfsborg and Tottenham being some of the most entertaining games so far this season. If Galatasaray can figure out their defensive issues, they should have no problem finishing within the top 8 of the league table. For Eintracht Frankfurt, their 3-3 draw with Victoria Plzen on matchday 1 sparked some energy in the side as they've won their last 3 matches since then. With back-to-back clean sheets on matchdays 3 and 4, Frankfurt look incredibly strong to start this campaign and have all the momentum heading into the second half of the league phase. For Belgian side Anderlecht, their 1-1 draw with RFS is the only thing holding them back from being ranked higher. Their toughest test so far this season was when they faced Real Sociedad on matchday 2, but they still came away with a 2-1 win. 7 goals scored and 3 goals conceded is good enough for now, but they'll need to bounce back from their matchday 4 performance with a convincing win in their next game. And for Athletic Club, 3 straight wins after their 1-1 draw with Roma on matchday 1 is exactly what the Spanish side is looking for. With Inaki and Nico Williams connecting for 3 of the team's 6 goals so far, their attacking options are more than plentiful to begin the campaign. If they can continue their momentum, a top 8 spot should be the aim for this impressive side. The 5th and final club in the A tier are FCSB. The Romanian side have easily been the biggest good surprise of the season as they currently sit in 8th place with 3 wins from 4 matches. Apart from their disaster clash against Rangers on matchday 3, FCSB have quietly been putting up solid numbers with 7 goals scored and just 1 conceded in their 3 other matches. With Daniel Berlija leading the way with 3 goals, keep an eye out on the Romanian Cinderella story with 4 games left to go. These 5 sides have been more than impressive to start their campaigns and they deserve their A tier ranking today. To round off this ranking, the 2 teams that find themselves in the S tier are Lazio and Ajax. Lazio have taken the league by storm and are the only team who remain perfect with 4 wins from all 4 matches. They've put up 11 goals so far and conceded just 2, so there's no doubt that they've been excellent on both sides of the pitch. While none of their opponents have put up too much of a fight, Lazio have earned their crown at the top of the league table. And for Ajax, their 1-1 draw with Slavia Prague on matchday 2 doesn't affect how good they've been in their other 3 games. With a 4-0 win over Besiktas, a 3-0 win over Karabag, and a 5-0 win over Maccabi Tel Aviv, the Dutch Giants have the best goal differential in the league amongst all 36 teams. With Brian Brobby leading the league with 3 assists and Remco Pasveer leading the league with 3 clean sheets, Ajax look truly unstoppable at the moment. These 2 sides sit alone at the top of the league table while also leading the way in the S tier today. So there you have it, these are my rankings for all 36 teams in the Europa League at the midway point of the league phase. Certain teams are performing out of their minds while others seem to be lost in space with no clear direction. We've gotten to witness some truly mesmerizing football over these 4 games and I'm sure that it will only get better. Which teams will move up, which teams will fall from the top, and how much will the league table change before we get to the knockout rounds? The Europa League is always full of surprises and that's what makes it so exciting. But what did you think of this Europa League ranking? Do you agree with it, disagree with it, or think that it's completely off from where it should be? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe for more football content, tier lists, and everything in between, and as always, I'll catch you next time.